Hello and welcome. You're joining us again in the weekend edition of Into Vietnam, which summarizes the most outstanding business news and expert ideas on the economy in the week, extending between May the 26th and June the 1st. And here are the headlines. Credit grows by 1.31% as of May the 23rd. Foreign direct investment disbursement rises slightly by 0.4% between January and May. In the business talk, we look at the chances to ensure sustainable wood exploitation and timber product in Vietnam with the support of European Union. First of all is this week's figures.
According to the State Bank of Vietnam as May 23, 2014, credit to the economy of the credit institution system grew 1.31% compared to the end of 2013. The total means of payment rose 5.28%. Capital mobilization increased 4.2% compared to the end of 2013. During May 2014, Vietnam Dong deposit interest rates were stable, while Vietnam Dong lending interest rates continued to fall 0.5% per year. Year to date, both Vietnam Dong deposit and lending interest rates were reduced 0.5 to 1.5% per year. Lending rates for priority sectors decreased by 1% per year compared to the end of 2013. Interest rates on existing loans continue to be revised down by banks. As of May 15th, outstanding loans in Vietnam Dong with interest rates above 15% per year accounted for 5% of the total Vietnam Dong outstanding loans, a significant reduction from 65.8% on July 15, 2012. Outstanding loans in Vietnam Dong with interest rates above 13% per year accounted for 15% of total outstanding loans in Vietnam Dong, down from 31% in June 2013. Interbank interest rates rose slightly and are now equivalent to those in late 2013. The General Statistics Office said that Vietnam's May Consumer Price Index is estimated to have risen by 0.2% on month, up 4.73% on year, and up 1.08% from December 2013. In details, as many as 10 out of 11 baskets of goods contributed to the calculation of CPI data saw their prices increase this month, in which prices of housing and construction materials, including rent, electricity, water, fuel, and construction materials, reported the highest price hike, which soared by 0.43%. Prices of traffic came the second with 0.36% increase. Prices of cultural entertainment and tourism ranked the third with 0.26% increase. Prices of household and appliances rose by 0.25%. Prices of garment, footwear, and hut rose 0.2%. Prices of food and foodstuff, which accounts for the highest part of the cake of CPI calculation, slightly increased by 0.17% this month. Prices of beverage and tobacco increased 0.13%. Prices of medicine and healthcare inched up 0.06%. Prices of education edged up by 0.01%. Prices of other goods and services was up 0.09%. In the downside, prices of postal services and telecommunication baskets both eased by 0.03% this month. Not included in the CPI components, gold prices in May dropped by 0.85% on month and lost 19.15% on year. The US dollar prices this month edged down by 0.04% on month, but rose by 0.76% on year.
According to the General Statistics Office, industrial production in the first 5 months of 2014 saw a 5.4% year-on-year increase. The index of industrial production also signaled that industry was recovering with a high growth rate so far this year. The high IIP growth was attributed to the 7.5% surge in the processing and manufacturing sector, which accounted for 70% of total industrial output. During the period, the garment and textile sector rose 21.1%, motorized vehicles were up 9.6%, and electric production and distribution grew 10.5%. Some products registered a decline in production, such as rubber and plastic, crude oil exploitation, and coal. As of the 1st of May, the manufacturing and processing industry posted high inventory index, up 12.6% versus 12.3% in the same period last year. Industry with lower than average inventories include food processing, rubber product manufacturing, plastic production, and garment and textile. Those with higher than expected unsold goods amount were furniture, metal, chemical, and tobacco production. Let's move on with major macroeconomic and investment news. At a conference releasing the Vietnam Annual Economic Report 2014 in Hanoi on May the 29th, the VEPR Director Nguyễn Đức Thanh said, Vietnamese economy's recovery remains tenuous. He went on to say the report hypothesized two alternative scenarios for the country's economic growth in 2014. The less optimistic scenario projects economic growth at 4.15%, while the brighter puts at 4.88%. The VEPR estimates are much lower than the figures predicted by the National Financial Supervisory Commission early last month. The Commission reported that GDP in 2014 first quarter hit 4.96%, higher than the same period in the two previous years, and is likely to be maintained in the third quarter of this year. Therefore, it's postulated that a GDP growth rate of 5.8% in 2014 is within reach. In April, the Asia Development Bank also forecast Vietnam GDP will reach 5.6% in 2014.
According to the Ministry of Planning and Investment Foreign Investment Agency, the country's foreign direct investment capital disbursements in the first 5 months of the year inched up 0.4% against the same period last year to $4.6 billion. Registered FDI capital in the period declined 34% to $5.5 billion. The figure also revealed that of the total, $3.67 billion went to 500 newly licensed projects, while 167 existing projects added $1.84 billion of the capital. The manufacturing and processing sectors took the lead in attracting FDI capital, with 254 new projects at $3.92 billion, accounting for 71.2% of the total. The construction sector ranked the second with 49 projects with a total investment of $463 million, accounting for 8.4% share, followed by the property trading sector with 9 projects worth $399 million, 7.2%, and the healthcare social support sector with $226 million. Of the 38 countries and territories investing in Vietnam in this period, South Korea was the largest investor, with both newly registered and additional capital totaling $1.3 billion, or 24% share, followed by Hong Kong, Japan, and Singapore with $630 million, $589 million, and $513 million respectively. The southern province of Bình Dương tops the list of FDI destinations, attracting $814 million, accounting for 14.8% of the country's total, followed by Ho Chi Minh City with $776 million and Đồng Nai with $580 million.
Second Mekong South Korea Business Forum got underway on May the 29th in Hanoi, drawing a large number of representatives from the business community of Vietnam, South Korea, and other Mekong sub-regional nations. Speaking at the opening, Deputy Foreign Minister Bùi Thanh Sơn said, the fourth Mekong South Korea Foreign Minister meeting, scheduled for Seoul this July, is expected to approve an action plan to expand cooperation between the Mekong nations, which is a significant development for the region. Vietnam is committed to bolstering Mekong-South Korea regional cooperation and strengthening dialogues, developing public-private partnership, and creating favorable conditions for businesses. Korean First Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs said the Mekong River region has played an important role in South Korea-ASEAN cooperation. He affirmed that South Korea was impressed at the region's GDP growth and sees many bright prospects on the horizon. The South Korea government expressed the desire to further strengthen relations with Mekong countries and help the region reduce the development gap with other nations within ASEAN. Vietnam's state budget collection by the middle of May was reported at more than 326 trillion dong, equivalent to 41.7% of the targeted amount for the entire year. Of the total, domestic collection stood at 226.9 trillion dong, or 42.1% of the year plan. That from crude oil was 42.6 trillion dong, or 49.9% of the year plan. Import-export sector contributed 55.3 trillion dong to the state budget, or 35.9% of the plan for 2014. Collection from state-owned enterprises is 75.3 trillion dong, while foreign investor companies paid 49.8 trillion dong to Vietnam's budget collection. In the meantime, 370.9 trillion dong, or 36.8% of state budget, were disbursed in the period, in which expenditure on development investment were estimated at 60.9 trillion dong, while that on socio-economic development, national security, and state management hit 264.9 trillion dong. 45.2 trillion dong of the state budget was for debt clearance. The Vietnam Asset Management Company, or VAMC, admitted the country's leading debt trading firm is struggling with settlement of the bad debt it has bought since October 2013. One of the reasons behind the difficulties is that Government Decree 53 on VAMC establishment does not give much help to facilitating operations of the firm, which is mandated to buy debt from local banks via bond sales. As per said, the VAMC by nature was just a place for banks to keep their bad debt temporarily. The enterprise does not take a debt directly and just acts as the broker or debt management service provider. As per se, the process of settling bad debts usually takes 3 to 7 years. As at the end of the first quarter of 2014, the company bought around 42.8 trillion dong worth of original debt at 35.4 trillion dong.
Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Vietnam, Đào Minh Tú, said domestic gold price fluctuations recently were mainly due to psychological factors and might even have speculative elements. According to him, in the first months of 2014, the domestic gold market in overall is quite stable. However, in the past few days, gold price of the domestic markets increased. Through monitoring and analyzing market information, the State Bank of Vietnam couldn't find the causes in the world gold price fluctuations, gold demand and supply in the market. The State Bank of Vietnam has closely monitored the market. If the market price of gold still fluctuates, the central bank is ready and has enough gold to sell for intervention on a large scale in case of necessity to ensure stable domestic gold market.
The Ministry of Planning and Investment reported local businesses are still in hardship. As of May 20th, 2014, nearly 5,500 companies was established with total registered capital of more than 30 trillion dong, down 25% and 33% on year respectively. However, the number of closed down or suspended companies even outnumbered that of newly established ones, as it amounted to 6,700 businesses, most of which shut down with 6,100 companies, up 33% on month. Between January and May period, more than 31,200 companies registered licenses with total capital of more than 173 trillion dong, up 0.7% and 11% respectively. The number of closed down and suspended companies hit 27,800, rising 20% against the corresponding period last year in the first 5 months of 2014. It should also be noted that around 7,000 companies turned back to their business in the first 5 months of this year. And now it's time for some foreign trade news. According to the General Statistics Office, some 6,000 cars valued at $92 million were brought into Vietnam in May, up 50% in terms of quantity and 3% in value from April. It was the most significant automotive import that the country has seen since the beginning of this year. Vietnam has imported 20,000 cars this year, a year-on-year increase of more than 50%. The imports led to a turnover of over $380 million, up more than 45% on year compared to the same period last year. Previously, the Vietnam Automobile Manufacturers Association said nearly 41,400 cars, mainly four-seaters, were sold in the country over the first 4 months, a 36% year-on-year rise. The increase was reported about 1 year after the government reduced registration fees for cars with less than 10 seats from 15% of the sale price to 10 to 12%, a move aimed at stimulating the domestic auto market. According to the association, 125,000 cars will be sold locally this year, up 14% from last year.
According to Vietnam Customs statistics, garment and textile exports jumped 21.3% in the first 4 months of this year, fetching nearly $6 billion. The U.S. remained the largest market for Vietnamese garment and textiles, importing $2.9 billion worth of products, up 19.4% compared to the same period last year, accounting for 49% of the country's total. It was followed by the EU and Japan that purchased $830 million and $784 million respectively. Most notably, Vietnamese garment exports to the UAE rose 131% to $35.8 million. The Ministry of Industry and Trade says there is an ample room for future growth in Vietnamese exports to the UAE as its demand for textile imports is approximately $6 billion each year.
Not only exporting roughly processed cashew nuts, the demand for instant cashew nut would be higher, is the remark made by the representative of Vietnam Cashew Association on the cashew nut export market in the coming time. Our report will provide an insight into the matter.
$2.2 billion is the export target of the cashew sector in 2014, in which $1.8 billion is turnover of cashew nut. The rest of $400 million is turnover of cashew shell oil and extensively processed products. According to experts, the demand for instant cashew nuts will be very high in the coming time, and this is also the sustainable development goal for the Vietnam cashew industry.
Tuy chiến lược lâu dài của ngành điều á, như tôi nói là cái hướng là sản xuất sạch hơn, an toàn vệ sinh thực phẩm, đa dạng hóa sản phẩm. Cái thứ hai là cái xu hướng là giảm cái suất nhân điều nguyên liệu bán thành phẩm mà phải chuyển dần sang cái thành phẩm ăn liền.
Nhu cầu tiêu dùng trên thế giới về xuất khẩu điều là rất là tốt. Và cái ngành điều chúng ta có khả năng ổn định cũng như là nâng cao giá trị gia tăng thông qua các cái công tác chế biến. Không chỉ chúng ta chế biến thành nhân điều rồi bán cái nhân điều bán thành phẩm mà tiến tới chế biến sâu.
Another great concern of the cashew importers is food safety. Mr. Nguyễn Đức Thanh, president of Vietnam Cashew Association, said the requirements for food safety is getting tougher to protect the health of consumers. Therefore, Vietnamese exporters should get update of food safety requirements of import markets.
Rõ ràng là cái nhu cầu về vệ sinh an toàn thực phẩm và nhu cầu về chất lượng, các cái khía cạnh của nó thì các cái thị trường người ta càng ngày càng rất là khó tính. càng rất là khó tính. Ví dụ như hôm qua thì có một cái ông ở Canada, ông này cũng là một cái người mua lớn, gần như là lớn nhất hiện nay ở châu Mỹ đấy. Thì ông ấy có nói là Canada chuẩn bị có một cái đạo luật là nếu như mà ai mà nhập khẩu thực phẩm về mà gây ảnh hưởng đến sức khỏe người tiêu dùng thì lập tức bị phạt 10 triệu lần thứ nhất, lần thứ hai phạt 20 triệu và lần thứ ba bắt bỏ tù 5 năm. Và ông ấy rất sợ cái điều đó. Cái này không phải là cái rào cản về kỹ thuật đâu, cái này là cái yêu cầu của thị trường, yêu cầu của chính phủ, người ta phải bảo vệ cái sức khỏe của người dân người ta. Thì thực ra người ta đề ra rất là nhiều luật lệ, càng ngày càng nhiều luật lệ. Và nếu không cập nhật kịp cái thông tin hoặc là tổ chức sản xuất không đáp ứng được các cái nhu cầu đó thì rõ ràng là rất là khó khăn.
At present, food safety criteria applied by domestic cashew exports include GMP, Good Manufacturing Practice, HACCP, hazards analysis and critical control points, especially the criteria set by the American Food Industry or AFI, are requested by many importers. The EU market is applying the criteria set by the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, GDP the 17th on appearance, humidity, contaminant amount, labeling and packaging.
Hiện nay thì mình xuất khẩu trên thị trường thế giới thì người ta có cái tiêu chuẩn, đó là tiêu chuẩn là AFI, cái tiêu chuẩn là của Hoa Kỳ và những quốc gia khác họ cũng áp dụng cái tiêu chuẩn AFI của Hoa Kỳ về cái tiêu chuẩn chất lượng của hạt điều.
The instant cashew nuts provided for many objects with high standards of food safety will be the trend of cashew importers. When meeting the requirements, the market for Vietnam's cashew nuts is open due to large and increasing demand. For example, in Q1 2014, most of the export market posted growth compared to 2013, in which the UK market up 110.8%, France up 129.6%, Spain up 159.8%, and Greece up 127%.
In 2014, the European Union has announced 3 projects with more than 3 million euros to help Vietnam promote sustainable timber exploitation and timber production. The projects are expected to bring great benefits to local wood makers. More in the following talk with the head of the EU delegation to Vietnam. Mr. Frane Setzen, thank you so much for joining our program today. Since March 2013, the EU has started the Fledged Action Plan in Vietnam. This should bring Vietnam a lot of benefits, but should cause some challenges to local firms. What have the EU done to help local firms to overcome the challenges and export their products to the EU market?
Partly through the negotiations of BPI on FLECT, we have been working very hard with the Vietnamese authorities to make sure that it's understood in Hanoi and in other parts of Vietnam what the regulation is about. But today what we have done is that we have signed 3 different commitments with 3 different organizations where the purpose is exactly to involve local communities, small and medium-sized enterprises in Vietnam to better understand what FLECT means and how to utilize FLECT in the best possible way. FLECT is a classification system, it's a verification system that timber is being used in a sustainable manner. Vietnam is a big user of wood. It's a big producer of furniture, where wood is a key component. And therefore it's important that we make sure that we work very constructively with Vietnam in this sector. I think last year you exported for more than $5 billion worth of wood products, so it's a big export item for you. And Europe is a big destination for those exports. So there we are trying to work together with not only the central authorities but also with local authorities and with small and medium-sized enterprises and civil society organizations.
In a bid to have Vietnamese firms to meet the requirements of FLEGT regulations, the EU today launched 3 projects to help them. Can you tell in details about this one?
The 3 projects are different. One of them is a regional organization which is not only covering Vietnam but also other parts or other countries in the neighborhood. But a main activity of that project will be in Vietnam, and that's why we're responsible for it here in the EU delegation in Hanoi. That project is an attempt to make sure that the civil society organizations in the different countries understand and they have a good use of the FLEGT and the possibilities opened up under there. For the other 2, they're based only here in Vietnam. I say only, it's a very big country and a big exporter of wood products, so that's why we're focusing on Vietnam in this. One of the other 2 is based in the central provinces, where we work with the local authorities to make sure that they understand what FLEGT is about and how to use it. And the last one is mainly focusing on small and medium-sized enterprises and getting them involved in the process. So it's 3 different contracts, it's 3 different ways of approaching the problem, but the problem is the same, and it's just how do we identify different target groups, and there the 3 projects are using 3 different target groups.
I'm really interested about the final projects. Can you tell in details about the EU efforts to support Vietnamese SME to join the market?
We support them through bringing information about FLEGT to them, because once they are using FLEGT, then the prices that they can attract on the European market would tend to be higher. Vietnam is not a big producer of wood per se. It's a big importer. Many of the wood products that you produce in Vietnam are using wood coming from other parts of the world, and therefore it's also important that when you import wood, that the FLEGT is understood. And again, many of the importers are small and medium-sized enterprises, and we are working with them to make sure that they use the wood in a sustainable manner.
And last but not least, can you give general assessment on Vietnamese firms in meeting the requirements of FLEGT so far?
I think they're doing okay. We've been negotiating the VPA for 3 years, and that period has also enabled us to make sure that the understanding is very high in Vietnam. So I think there's a good understanding, but of course you do have many small and medium-sized enterprises, and some of them are located in fairly remote provinces. So there, through these projects, we are trying to approach also SMEs located far away from Hanoi, far away from Ho Chi Minh City.
And once again, thank you so much for joining our program today.
You're welcome.
And the final part is the summary of local securities market between May the 26th and May the 30th. Well, the program has come to an end. Thank you so much for your time with us. For comments and feedbacks, you can reach us via email at intovietnam@vtv.vn or give us a call at 0422 08288. Goodbye for now.